Jack Ryder wasn't supposed to be here. He wasn't supposed to be anywhere near the Galactic Assembly, let alone standing in its grand atrium with a dumbfounded expression that screamed tourist in any language. The ceiling arched hundreds of feet overhead, a transparent dome revealing the swirling nebulae and distant stars that made up this sector of space. Species from across the galaxy milled about, their bodies ranging from vaguely humanoid to dear God, what am I looking at? There's been a mistake, Jack said for the 14th time, clutching his hastily printed credentials. I'm a junior cultural attaché for the North American Union. I was supposed to be assigned to the embassy on Proxima Centauri B. The bored receptionist, a lavender-skinned being with 3 eyes arranged in a triangle, didn't look up from her console. All 3 pupils rolled simultaneously. Your credentials say Galactic Assembly Diplomatic Corps, Human Representative, Class 3. The system doesn't make mistakes, Mr. Ryder. But I have exactly 0 qualifications for this. I've never even met an alien before today. Congratulations on your promotion, she said, sliding a tablet toward him. Your orientation begins in 15 minutes. Concourse B, Chamber 42. Jack sighed, accepting the tablet. His resume had mentioned adaptable in challenging situations, but this was ridiculous. Someone in HR had royally screwed up, but until it got sorted, he was apparently humanity's newest diplomat to the stars. Chamber 42 turned out to be a small auditorium filled with beings who made the receptionist look positively mundane. Jack slid into a seat next to something that resembled a sentient houseplant and tried to look like he belonged. An enthusiastic blue-skinned alien bounded onto the stage. Welcome, newest members of the Galactic Assembly. I'm Orientation Specialist Mick 2U. We're so excited to have you all here. He spoke in a voice so chipper it bordered on parody. As Mick 2 droned on about cafeteria hours and restroom facilities for 17 different metabolic types, Jack began fidgeting with his pocket. Out of habit, he pulled out his Swiss Army knife and started absently opening and closing the various tools. The reaction was immediate and terrifying. Weapon. The human has a weapon, shrieked a gelatinous blob 3 rows ahead. The room erupted in chaos. Beings scattered in all directions, some literally climbing the walls in their panic. The houseplant next to Jack rapidly withdrew its fronds and burrowed into its pot. Alarms blared throughout the chamber. It's just a pocket knife, Jack protested, holding up the modest tool. Look, it has a tiny scissors and a corkscrew. This only intensified the panic. A security team burst through the doors, led by a towering reptilian figure wearing an imposing exoskeleton of armor. The being fixed Jack with slitted yellow eyes. Surrender your weapon. Human, the reptilian commanded, voice rumbling like distant thunder. It's not a weapon, it's a tool, Jack insisted, but reluctantly handed over his knife. It's for opening packages and wine bottles. I use the toothpick after meals. The security chief examined the knife with obvious disgust, holding it between 2 clawed fingers as if it might explode. This tool, as you call it, contains multiple bladed instruments, a pointed implement, and, he squinted, a device clearly designed for corkscrew disembowelment. That's really not what it's. I am Chief Security Officer Claxpaw, the reptilian interrupted. And you, human, have violated Section 12, Paragraph 3 of the Assembly Security Protocols. No delegate shall bear implements of war, destruction, or potential harm within Assembly grounds. But everyone here has natural weapons. Ishet, Jack protested, gesturing wildly at the room. That guy has venomous spines. She's literally made of acid, and that one over there can shoot lightning from its appendages. Claxpaw's expression remained impassive. Natural evolutionary adaptations are permitted. Manufactured weapons are not. That seems like a pretty arbitrary distinction. Arbitrary distinctions are the foundation of all bureaucracy, human. Claxpaw turned to his security team. Implement Protocol H7. Full body scan for all humans entering assembly grounds. Any and all potential weapons to be confiscated. But my knife. It will be returned upon your departure from assembly space. Claxpaw leaned closer, his reptilian face inches from Jack's. Consider this your only warning, human. Next time, the consequences will be more severe. As the security team dispersed and the other delegates cautiously returned to their seats, Jack slumped in his chair. His first hour as a galactic diplomat, and he'd already caused an interspecies incident. Mick Tuyu cleared his throat awkwardly at the podium. Well, that was invigorating. Now, where were we? Ah, yes, proper etiquette when greeting methane-breathing delegates. Jack Ryder, accidental diplomat, buried his face in his hands and wondered if things could possibly get any worse. They absolutely could. The orientation session eventually ended, and Jack found himself ushered into a small office decorated with what appeared to be potted cacti, but occasionally blinked. Ah, there you are. The knife human. Jack winced at the nickname. Standing before him was a slender humanoid with metallic blue skin that shimmered under the fluorescent lighting. 4 arms emerged from a torso wrapped in an elegant robe adorned with what Jack assumed were diplomatic insignia. I'm Bellatrix, Senior Diplomatic Liaison, she said, extending her upper right hand. I've been assigned as your mentor. Jack Ryder, he replied, shaking her hand cautiously, and I'd prefer not to be known as the knife human, if possible. Too late, Vela chuckled. News travels faster than light around here. But don't worry, most scandals are forgotten within a cycle or two, unless they involve the Graxians and their mating rituals. She shuddered. And that one's still in the archives after 60 years. Jack collapsed into a chair that mercifully seemed designed for human anatomy. I don't understand any of this. Why was everyone so terrified of a pocket knife when half the delegates could kill me with their bare appendages? Vela settled across from him, all 4 arms folding into a posture of patience. Welcome to galactic politics, where nothing makes sense but everyone pretends it does, she said with a wink. The weapons policy dates back to the founding of the Assembly. The idea was to prevent assassinations by distinguishing between what a species is versus what a species chooses to bring. That's ridiculous, Jack protested. The Mantoid delegate has actual scythes for arms. Yes, but Ambassador Tick can't help having scythe arms any more than you can help having those flat, useless teeth. She was born that way. So I'm considered dangerous because I brought a tool, but she's perfectly fine despite being able to decapitate me with a casual gesture. Now you're getting it. Vela beamed, clearly pleased with his understanding. It's also why the Toxilians can drip venom, the Pyrosians can reach temperatures of 300 degrees, and the Zephyrians can exhale paralyzing gas. All natural adaptations. Jack buried his face in his hands. This is insane. Politics usually is. Vela agreed cheerfully. Come on. I'll give you the unofficial tour, the one they don't include in orientation. As they walked the vast corridors of the Assembly, Vela pointed out various species and their natural defenses. The jellyfish-like Medusans who could deliver electric shocks. The crystalline collective whose bodies were literally made of diamond-hard shards. The gaseous confederation who could alter their chemical composition to become toxic in seconds. And humans get singled out because we're too clever with our hands, Jack muttered. Precisely. Vela stopped abruptly, causing Jack to nearly collide with her. That's exactly why. I was being sarcastic. And yet accidentally insightful, she said, lowering her voice. Between us, many species are terrified of humans, not because of what you are, but because of what you make. Before Jack could press for details, a commotion erupted ahead. A procession of insectoid beings marched down the corridor, their chitinous exoskeletons gleaming under the lights. At their center walked a particularly large specimen, whose mandibles clicked rhythmically. Ambassador Droon and the militant Hive Collective. Vela whispered, not our biggest fans. Droon's compound eyes fixed on Jack as the procession passed. The clicking of his mandibles intensified, producing what Jack somehow knew was a sound of disgust. Another human, Droon hissed, his translator rendering the clicks into words. How unfortunate that your kind continues to infest our assembly. Charming fellow, Jack muttered after they'd passed. Droon has been leading the anti-human faction for years, Vela explained. He believes humans should be restricted to their home system. What's his problem? That, Jack Ryder, Bella said with a gravity that didn't match her earlier cheerfulness, is what you're really here to find out. Jack's first week at the Galactic Assembly passed in a blur of orientation sessions, awkward introductions, and multiple security pat-downs every time he entered a new section. By day 5, Claxpor's security team had confiscated his retractable pen, potential stabbing implement, his belt, potential strangulation device, and even his shoelaces, a proven garrote wire in 17 documented human conflicts. Late that evening, after most delegates had retired to their quarters, Jack found himself wandering the quieter corridors of the Assembly archives. The section was dimly lit, with holographic displays illuminating snippets of galactic history as he passed. "You appear lost, human delegate Ryder," came a melodic voice from nowhere. Jack spun around, finding no one. "Hello?" A shimmering blue hologram materialized beside him, taking the form of a vaguely feminine figure composed of swirling data streams. "I am Tess, Tactical Encyclopedia and Security System. I maintain the Assembly's archives and knowledge repositories." "An AI?" Jack asked, fascinated. "A simplified designation, but functionally accurate," Tess replied. Her holographic form shifted slightly, data points rearranging themselves. "You are exploring restricted archives without clearance." "Sorry, I was just curious. Everything about this place confuses me." Tess's form flickered momentarily. Confusion is a natural response to information deficit. "I detect sincere perplexity rather than malicious intent. Query, what specific information would alleviate your confusion?" Jack hesitated, then decided an AI might be his best shot at honest answers. Why are humans the only species required to surrender tools that other species don't even need because of their natural weapons? The query processing. Tess's form pulsed rhythmically. Restricted information detected. Access denied. Weight restricted. Why would that be restricted? Secondary query denied. All historical context regarding Human Weapons Protocol H7 requires alpha clearance. Now Jack was really intrigued. "Can you at least tell me who classified this information?" "The Classification Authority, Ambassador Droon, Security Subcommittee Chair." "That bug has it in for humans," Jack muttered. "Tess, is there anything about humans in the archives that isn't restricted?" Tess seemed to consider this. "Public domain footage of human activities exists in general archives. Would you like to view a selection?" "Yes, please." "Please." The air around them shimmered as Tess projected footage of humans throughout history. Some clips showed warfare humans using everything from sticks and stones to complex machinery. Others showed exploration humans climbing mountains, diving into oceans, venturing into space. "I fail to see what's so scary about this," Jack said. "Every species has conflicts and explorers." "Anomaly detected," Tess replied. "Human adaptation timeline inconsistent with evolutionary norms." "Observe." "Observe." The projections shifted to a rapid-fire montage showing human technological progression from stone tools to spacecraft in a mere blink of cosmic time. "Holy," Jack whispered as understanding dawned. "They're not afraid of our weapons. They're afraid of how quickly we learn to make new ones." "Correct," came a voice from behind him. Jack whirled to find Vela standing in the shadows. "Apologies for following you, but first-week delegates have a habit of finding trouble." "Did you know about this?" Jack demanded. "Not officially," Bella admitted. "But I've suspected. Most species took millions of years to develop technology that humans mastered in thousands. Their adaptability terrifies them. That still doesn't explain why Droon." An alarm suddenly blared throughout the corridor. Tess's hologram flickered anxiously. "Security breach detected. Unauthorized access to protected historical archives. Location, Section 12 Alpha." "That's not us," Jack said. "No," Vela agreed grimly. "But it's nearby. We should leave." "Yeah." Before they could move, Tess projected a new image, a security feed showing several insectoid figures huddled around an archive terminal. "The militant Hive Collective," Jack whispered. "What are they accessing?" "Human conflict records," Tess replied. Specifically, tactical analyses of Earth's most devastating weapons and warfare strategies. Why would Droon want those? Bella's expression darkened. Nothing good. The Assembly convenes tomorrow for the Security Council vote. Droon chairs the committee. And he's clearly planning something that involves making humans look bad, Jack concluded. Worse, Bella said. I think he's planning to use humanity's history against all of us. The next morning, Jack entered the vast Security Council chamber with what he hoped was diplomatic confidence, but felt more like impending doom. Circular tiers of seats surrounded a central speaking platform, filled with hundreds of delegates from across the galaxy. Ambassador Droon presided at the elevated chairperson's podium, his mandibles clicking with barely contained satisfaction. Delegates of the Assembly, Droon's translated voice echoed through the chamber. Today we vote on Measure 447B, Enhanced Security Protocols for Volatile Species. The measure would establish containment zones and travel restrictions for species demonstrating dangerous tendencies. Jack leaned toward Vela, who had managed to secure them seats near the back. That sounds suspiciously targeted, he whispered. It is, she confirmed. The only species that would currently qualify under the proposed criteria is humanity. How convenient. That's right. We're saying. Droon continued, his compound eyes sweeping the room. Before we vote, the Security Committee has prepared evidence demonstrating the necessity of these measures. The chamber lights dimmed as a holographic display appeared above the central platform. Jack's stomach dropped as he recognized footage from Earth's bloodiest conflicts, medieval battles, world wars, and nuclear tests edited together in a montage designed to portray humans as unstoppable killing machines. For millennia, Droon narrated, humans have dedicated their primary resources to developing increasingly efficient methods of destruction. While lacking natural defenses, they have compensated with artificial weaponry capable of planetary annihilation. Murmurs of alarm spread through the chamber. This is completely out of context, Jack hissed. They're not showing any of our achievements in medicine, art, or peaceful exploration. Context rarely matters in politics, Vela replied grimly. Droon's presentation reached its climax with footage of nuclear explosions. These beings now seek full Assembly membership and unrestricted travel rights throughout our systems. I ask you, can we afford such risk? Before anyone could respond, the chamber plunged into darkness. Emergency lights flickered on as alarmed voices rose from the delegates. Security breach. Claxpor's voice boomed over the commotion. All delegates remain in your seats. A new hologram appeared, a countdown timer showing 15 minutes. Below it flashed a message, human weapon deployed. Assembly lockdown initiated. Chaos erupted. Delegates scrambled over each other, some extending wings, others oozing between seats. Security personnel struggled to maintain order. This is no coincidence, Vela whispered. Look at Droon. The ambassador and his entourage remained perfectly calm amid the panic, speaking urgently into communication devices. A familiar blue hologram materialized beside Jack. Delegate Ryder, Tess said, her voice audible only to him. Anomaly detected in security protocols. A lockdown originated from within the system, not from external threat. Someone staged this, Jack realized. Tess, what happens during an assembly lockdown? All entrances sealed. Communication with outside suspended. Automated defense systems activated. And who controls those systems during a crisis? The Security Council chair. Droon, Jack and Vela said simultaneously. From the central platform, Claxpor was attempting to restore order. We have detected an unauthorized weapons signature of human design. For your safety, the assembly will remain sealed until the threat is neutralized. Jack stood abruptly. That's ridiculous. I've been scanned a dozen times today. All eyes turned to him. Claxpor's reptilian features narrowed with suspicion. You claim no knowledge of this device? There is no device. This is a setup. Ambassador Droon's translator amplified his clicking mandibles. A human protests too much. Security, detain him while we investigate. As guards moved toward Jack, the main view screens suddenly activated, showing external footage of small vessels docking with the assembly station. Unauthorized ships detected, Tess announced to the entire chamber. Matching signatures, militant Hive Collective military vessels. A coup, Vela breathed. They fabricated an emergency to seize control of the assembly. Droon's compound eyes flashed with anger. Silence that system. He commanded. The screens went dark, but the damage was done. The chamber erupted in fresh panic as delegates realized they were trapped with no outside communication, their automated defenses under Droon's control, errors and hostile forces boarding the station. Jack grabbed Vela's arm. "We need a plan, fast. And fast. The defense systems are designed to counter advanced weapons," she said. "All sophisticated technology in the assembly is now neutralized or controlled by Droon." A slow grin spread across Jack's face. "Good thing humans are experts at using primitive solutions, then." "I need writing implements, adhesive materials, and access to the assembly's environmental controls," Jack said, his mind racing through possibilities. Vela stared at him. "You want office supplies during a hostile takeover?" "Trust me," Jack replied with a confidence he didn't entirely feel. "Humans have a long history of improvising with whatever's available." While Claxpor attempted to negotiate with Droon buying precious time, Jack, Vela, and a reluctant Tess began gathering materials from nearby offices. Pens, tape, paper clips, and various alien equivalents were piled onto a service cart. "What exactly are you planning?" Vela asked as they hurried down a maintenance corridor. "Droon controls all the advanced technology, but he's overlooking something fundamental," Jack explained. "This station was built with redundant systems. Tess, the environmental controls still have manual overrides, right?" The AI's hologram flickered. "Affirmative. Mechanical failsafes exist for life support functions. They are considered too primitive to require electronic security." "Primitive is exactly what we need," Jack grinned. "Now, where's the nearest maintenance access point?" 20 minutes later, Jack was elbowed deep in a ventilation shaft, constructing what looked like a deranged arts and crafts project. He'd fashioned a crude pump mechanism using elastic materials from office supplies and components salvaged from a cleaning drone. "Delegate briefings suggest Droon's species is extremely sensitive to temperature fluctuations," Tess informed them. "And 3 degrees beyond their comfort range triggers a hibernation response." "Perfect," Jack said, connecting the last piece of his contraption to the manual temperature control. "We're going to create a localized cold zone in the council chamber. When Droon and his guards start slowing down, Claxpor's security team can regain control." Vela watched in fascination. This might actually work, but how do we get back into the chamber without being detected? Jack held up a makeshift periscope crafted from a reflective name badge and pen casings. "We don't. We trigger it remotely. Tess, can you create a small distraction in the chamber's lighting system?" "Permitted actions during security lockdown are limited," Tess replied, sounding almost apologetic. "However, diagnostic flicker patterns are within my operational parameters." As they finished preparations, the station shuddered. Through the maintenance corridor's small window, they could see more Hive Collective ships docking. "We're running out of time," Vela whispered. Jack activated his jury-rigged device, watching as his makeshift pressure system began forcing the cooling agent through the ventilation network. "Humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology," he said. "It's our creativity under pressure." They made their way back toward the council chamber through the maintenance tunnels. Through gaps in the paneling, they could see Droon addressing the terrified delegates. "The human threat has demonstrated why our proposed security measures are essential," the insectoid ambassador was saying. "Once my security teams neutralize the device, we will implement immediate containment protocols for all human delegates." "Now, Tess," Jack whispered. The chamber lights began flickering in a diagnostic pattern. As heads turned upward, cold air flowed steadily through the vents directly above Droon and his guards. The effect wasn't immediate, but within minutes, the insectoids' movements became visibly sluggish. Their mandibles clicked slower, their limbs moving as if through molasses. "What is happening?" Droon slurred, his translator struggling with his increasingly disjointed speech patterns. Jack burst through the maintenance door, brandishing nothing more threatening than a rolled-up assembly agenda. "What's happening, Ambassador, is a demonstration of why humans are dangerous even without fancy weapons." Claxpaw, seeing the Hive guards becoming torpid, quickly mobilized his security team. They surrounded the immobilized insectoids as Jack strode confidently to the central platform. "Delegates of the Assembly," he announced, "Ambassador Droon has staged this entire crisis. There is no human weapon. The security breach was fabricated to justify a takeover by the militant Hive Collective. Tess projected the evidence they'd gathered: the unauthorized access to the security systems, the altered footage, the boarding ships. This human speaks truth," Claxpaw confirmed, having secured Droon. "We have been deceived." The chamber erupted in astonished murmurs as Jack continued. "I stopped this coup without any weapon. No laser gun, no bomb, no AI, just some office supplies and basic knowledge of environmental systems. That's what terrifies Droon about humanity, and not our capacity for violence, but our capacity for solutions." 3 days after what galactic media outlets were calling the Great Hive Deception, Jack found himself in a position he'd never anticipated, addressing the full Galactic Assembly as an officially recognized human ambassador. The chamber, fully restored to working order, buzzed with excited chatter. Representatives from 100 different species filled the tiered seating, their attention focused on the lone human at the central podium. Jack tugged at his hastily tailored diplomatic uniform, still unable to believe the series of events that had led to this moment. "Distinguished delegates," he began, his voice carrying through the vast space, "I stand before you not as the representative of a dangerous species, but as proof that understanding often lies beyond our initial perceptions." In the front row, a now secured Ambassador Droon sat flanked by Claxpaw's security team. The insectoid's compound eyes remained fixed on Jack, mandibles clicking in restrained fury. Ambassador Droon's actions were motivated by fear of difference, fear of potential. And perhaps that fear wasn't entirely unfounded. Jack paused, looking around the chamber. "Humans are adaptable. We turn limitations into opportunities. Without natural armor, we forge shields. Without claws, we craft tools. Our greatest weapon has always been our minds." Vela, now officially assigned as Jack's diplomatic advisor, gave him an encouraging nod from nearby. "The investigation has revealed that Droon's faction has been manipulating security protocols for years," Jack continued. "They've systematically portrayed humanity as a violent threat while preparing their own military action against the Assembly. The irony isn't lost on me that their coup was defeated not by advanced weaponry, but by a makeshift cooling system any human child might have designed for a science project." Appreciative laughter rippled through the chamber. "In light of recent events," Jack said, "I propose a revision to Assembly Security Protocol H7. While manufactured weapons should indeed remain prohibited, I suggest we recognize that the distinction between natural and artificial capabilities is less important than how they're used. Any species here could cause harm with their natural abilities, yet choose cooperation instead. That choice, not our physical differences, defines us." The motion was put to a vote, and to Jack's surprise, it passed with overwhelming support. The revised protocol would still require humans to check potential weapons at security as sensible precaution in any diplomatic setting, but it removed the special designation that had singled out humanity. As the session concluded, Tess's hologram materialized beside Jack and Vela in a private antechamber. "Ambassador Ryder," the AI said, its data streams fawning what almost looked like a smile. "The Assembly has granted me permission to share previously restricted information with you." "What information?" Jack asked. "The original classification of human adaptive capabilities as a security concern dates back to humanity's first contact with the Arcturian delegation, when presented with Arcturian technology. The human representatives immediately began suggesting improvements, 17 significant enhancements within the first hour of examination." "That doesn't sound threatening," Jack said. To the Arcturians, who had developed that technology over 3 centuries, it was profoundly disturbing. Their report described humans as alarmingly innovative, capable of technological leapfrogging that could destabilize established galactic power structures. Fella laughed. So humans weren't banned from carrying weapons because you're dangerous, you were banned because you're too clever with them. And with everything else, Tess added, your species' ability to repurpose is unique in documented galactic history. Clack's paw entered the antechamber, his reptilian features arranged in what Jack had learned was respect. Ambassador Ryder. The Assembly Council requests your presence. They wish to discuss establishing a new committee, Adaptive Technologies and Innovations, with you as chair. Jack turned to Vela and Tess with a grin. Well, would you look at that? From security threat to committee chair in 1 week. Not bad for a guy who was supposed to be filing paperwork on Proxima Centauri B. As they walked together toward the council chambers, Jack couldn't help but reflect on the absurdity of his situation. Somehow, being singled out as the only species forbidden from carrying weapons had led to humanity's greatest diplomatic breakthrough. Sometimes, the universe had a strange sense of humor.